Good morning and God bless. Let me speak some life into you, man. You think you're chasing a future, but you are just resuscitating a corpse. The culture you grind for already expired. The applause you crave already moved on. The system you sacrifice for, it buried your spirit the day it bought your submission. This ain't a hustle problem. This is a resurrection emergency. Welcome to the morgue of modern ambition, where the most loyal are the most lost. Here's your warning for the day. This doctrine is for the high performers with hollow souls, for the faithful employees who can't feel their own spirit, for the dreamers drowning in dopamine and deadline loops. Side effects may include emotional nausea when logging into LinkedIn, sudden disgust for your own goals, night sweats from legacy anxiety, and extreme clarity followed by aggressive unfollowing. Welcome to Raw 4 Epoch 2 Day 154. Today we pronounce the culture dead and we return your soul to the living. Let's get into our concept overview. You are chasing a dead system. This is not about ambition. It's about authorship. Are you running the system? Or is the system running you? You didn't come here to mimic somebody else's metrics. You didn't wake up today to obey a dead algorithm. And you sure didn't train your mind, spirit, and body to earn points from ghosts. You ain't broken. You're not behind. You're just living inside a success system that expires before you arrived. Here's what you'll learn. Why the system you grind for isn't alive, it's automated. How borrowed metrics infected your soul and called it discipline. Why your emotional leaks reveal spiritual misalignment. How to identify your own performance rituals disguised as purpose. And the way back to presence through authorship. Authorship through remembrance. Let's get into our visual metaphor of the day. We call this the parade of the dead. Imagine this. Picture in your imagination a citywide parade, bright lights, fireworks, music. But every float is a coffin. People are cheering, throwing confetti, posting it on stories like it's life. But you zoom in and every float is hollow. The cheers are looped. The dances are exhausted. This is what culture looks like now. We don't celebrate life, we decorate death. And most people are too distracted to notice. Here's my personal perspective. I titled this, You Ever Wonder If You're Chasing a Dead Thing? Let me pull you in. This is fresh off the Cliche Jeff life experience, man. I had a day yesterday. You ever wonder what you're actually chasing? Like, what are you actually chasing? What are you buying? What are you becoming? You ever felt so disgusted at how much energy you pour into being seen, not just online, but everywhere, everywhere. Every room, every role, every conversation. You ever feel like you're just performing for people who already forgot you? Climbing ladders that lean on buildings you don't even believe in? I have. And it hit me massively hard yesterday doing something small. My wife came to me. She asked me to cut open the wall. It was a pipe leak. But dinner was on. I had ribs in the oven. Corn was in there too. Emails pinging me from work. Go live stress was building. Got a big week this week. And my first emotion, frustration, inconvenience. So I had to pause. And I remembered something from the Kabbalist path. You know, I reference them often. It's still stuck in my recent consciousness. But there's Chokmah and Binah. Both are forms of consciousness. Chokmah is raw light, unspoken wisdom. You don't attach words to it. Binah is structured meanings, the words we attach to the memory. Two distinct things. We'll get into more of that a little bit later. I realized at that moment, though, that emotion wasn't frustration. It was a test of authorship. Am I running the system like I say I am? I labeled it inconvenient because that's the word culture gave me. But the reality was, and probably is for you too, I asked for this life. I asked for the noise. I begged for this smoke. I built this home, literally. I trained this body. I lived this mission. So why would I resent the responsibilities that prove I am blessed? Metaphorically, of course, the leak was in the wall, but the leak wasn't in the wall. The leak was in me. And how I let fake urgency pull me out of real presence. So my wife asked me, you know, call your stepfather, show him the fix? Well, we don't really flow like that anymore. So I'm like, no, why would I? Why would I need somebody else's confirmation? His or anybody else's? When the room I'm in that I built already trusts me. Everybody's here who I need. So I told her, I asked her, yo, you happy? Yes. Then I'm happy. Can I finish the ribs now? And later that night, after fixing the wall, cleaning the vacuum, feeding the dog, setting the table, taking out the garbage, all that stuff that comes with life, which I did with massive pride, we just sat. My wife, daughter, son, and I. About 30 minutes of pure presence. No crisis, no noise, no hostility, even though it gets kind of heated at the Rodriguez table. But it's just family. And I ain't lead the conversation. I just listen. Because I remembered that's what strength is. That's what remembrance is. That's what stamina is. Oh, and by the way, you start cutting off the wall and reaching up high, your shoulders start to burn a little bit. But guess what else? I trained for this, so they didn't give out. So when I'm pumping, when I'm lifting, it's not for the tank tops, it's not for the gram. It's for the weight of life. You know, like the pipes, the prayers, the ribs, the laugh, the remembrance. Always knowing I am blessed to be alive. This is why I insert before I check the chat. If you're feeling me where you're at, you want to subscribe to that kind of life, it's going to cost you $99.99. I'm raising my prices by the day. I'm checking the market. Think about what we talked about for perspective, before perspective, and the metaphor, the parade of dead souls, man. That's how a lot of us are reaching immediate conclusions about our lives and who we feel like in the moment, easily frustrated by the blessings that surround us by the moment. The moment is a blessing. The moment is a blessing. This moment's a blessing. If this made it to you, it's a blessing. And yeah, the pipe might leak. By the way, the pipe was leaking because I was trying to hang something on the wall. I missed the wall. I hit the pipe. It happens. So am I going to let that ruin the entirety of my existence for that day? No. Did I have to run to Home Depot on top of that? Yes. Was it inconvenient? Describe inconvenient. That's my point. The labels that we come to consciousness, and we're going to talk about Binah and Hukmah. I think it's we're going to break it down spiritually in a moment here. But the simulated lifestyle, when I talk insistently and incessantly about are you running the system or is the system running you? You are in control. At least I think you're in control. I hope you're in control. I hope you believe you're in control. And 25 years of being with the same person, having a 15 and a 12-year-old, how many nights have I already spazzed out, crashed out, and not come to presence? And that evening is ruined. So when we talk about compound interest on life, that you pray every day for 15, 20 minutes so you can get deeper with God, get deeper with God, like the inverse is true. If you're blowing up dinner 5 out of the 7 days of the week, presuming you even sit down, I don't even know how culturally how that's pervasive or not in our lives today. Do we sit down together? That's the one thing we still do. I don't, I had a pretty big family growing up. I remember sitting down occasionally, I think maybe during occasions for dinner. That wasn't a big thing, but we were also close enough. We were all in this, it's a small apartment, project living is, I guess, like that too. Everybody's right there anyway. But for my wife and I, we've always emphasized the dinner table. And sometimes, like, we're on devices, it happens. But the one thing I know for certain is we're locked in with presence. That's why the dinner table is big for me. And that's why moments, in home, I really emphasize them. The doors are closed, everybody's comfortable, everybody's chilling. It's home, it's a good ambiance. So you can have these conversations. You can share presence. You can share life. That way, when the pipe it leaks, you don't spaz out. You remember why you're doing it. You asked for it. You prayed for it. Like, nah, Jeff, I never really. Yes, you did. You pursue a certain lifestyle because you're trying to accommodate the people who you are closest with, and whether even if you're single, it doesn't matter. You're constantly creating. So the pull that we have, we show up for the obvious stage, the moments where people are looking and watching and observing, and we have all these witnesses. We post only our brightest light, right? But we miss moments. And then the way you compound, like I said, you keep blowing up the dinner table, you're gonna compound interest towards the negative. It's not cool. Let's get into our black book insert. The simulation of success. What you think is progress might be performance inside a corpse. Most of society runs on success simulation. Goals built from somebody else's template. Hustle rewarded by ghosts of a dying system. Dopamine chasing instead of divine authorship. And neurologically, it's a trap. Your brain can't tell real success from reactive stimulation. Your nervous system adjusts to hustle like an addict adjusts to drugs. Why do you think we use that metaphor so often here? The more you chase empty rituals, the more your spirit dies quietly. This ain't about motivation. It's about spiritual survival. I'm not saying don't chase the title. I'm asking you if you understand the parameters. When I talked about we are so success driven to identify, and we could care less about the building that this business is constructed in and on. We don't even want to lean on it because we don't want to be associated with it any longer than we have to, yet we identify with it so greatly. And why? Is it because you chose that? You're like, Jeff, I gotta live, I gotta eat. Cool. But the simulation is pushing you towards how you are constructing your existence. And you're absorbing and absorbing and absorbing and absorbing and absorbing, never producing your own idea of spirit. That can lead to massive just regression for how you feel about yourself. How could it not? You're not really locked into what your spirit and your soul wants. Let's get into that Binah Hokmah consciousness. Remembrance versus reaction. Here's the spiritual code. We're going back to Kabbalistic thoughts. There's Hokmah, again, which is the raw divine wisdom, unspoken light. I think I referenced, I don't know how many episodes ago. If you trigger memory and you just think and see memory and imagine memory and an experience, it doesn't contain context in the form of language or words. It's a memory. That's Hokmah. It's just, you don't assign any context to it. It's unspoken light. A lot of times when you meditate, they'll tell you just focus on an image, not try to silence the mind. But it is still critical. That will be Hokmah. Binah consciousness is the vessel that interprets and applies that wisdom. That's when we start to assign language. And in our language, who gave you the language? Who told you to associate that specific language with those types of memories? And the obvious polarities between folks who are trauma looped and stay in trauma looped and persevere, they go through the same trauma. There are people who have identified the same way as far as what they've been through and what they've experienced and how deep the pain is. Why do some stay there? Why do some make it out? A lot of it is how you consciously apply to it. This happened to me. I suck at life. I can't move anywhere. I'm never going to be anything. Because of all these things that happened to me, all this pain and all this suffering. I had all this pain and suffering. I never want to stay here. This is horrible. I never want to experience it. I never want to give it to my generation. I prosper. So it is you who applies the wisdom. It's your choice how you apply the language. It's your choice how you come to presence about it. It's your choice if you crash out over a leak in the wall, right? There's masculine, feminine, impulse, and understanding. Now, here's what blows my mind, right? If we talk about Binah, how we are trying to rationalize, explain, and contextualize experience, emotion, life, most of us are living in somebody else's Binah, somebody else's algorithm, somebody else's speech, thought, feeling, emotion, legacy, culture, etc. You want to know what hurts me in my soul even more? Most of us don't even know what's true. We don't even know what's true. We don't even know that that's true. We just run inherited templates and react to expired structure. Not because it works, because clearly we have a lot to complain about, but because it's familiar. That's why this world feels fake. That's why success feels dry. That's why your soul leaks even when your plan is on schedule. Because you're running reactions, not revelations. Here's the system hack, man. You can't author your life through somebody else's software. You need both. Hokmah, Binah. You need to be able to see. You need to be able to contextualize. On your own terms. Forget even the Kabbalists. Forget your religious structure. Forget anything. But it is spirit and structure, presence and precision, God and grind. Think about it. There's consequences. The consequences of inaction. If you keep serving a dead system, you'll keep optimizing a broken simulation. That's how things that are fractured. How is toxic culture so pervasive? Because you're optimizing it by staying there. You're accepting it. The relationship that is stripping you, it's not even that it's deteriorating. It's flourishing because you're optimizing it by staying in it. And why? Somebody told you that's what you're supposed to do. You'll become fluent in burnout, but illiterate in peace. You'll train your children or your future to serve systems that don't love them. Forget the kids part, man. That's already too heavy for me to go deeper into, because that's the part of life that really, you want to talk about an easy way to stay inspired. Think about handing off consciousness, a degenerate conscience to your children, and knowing that after you die and they're left alone in life, they can't survive and flourish emotionally. They can't get it together. That is one of my biggest fears. But your future, and then also for what? For relationships that don't love them back in return. And same thing with your future. I just had a conversation with somebody recently who made a decade in their position. And so they put you up on a, put an email together, they highlight tenure. And in comparison, there was somebody there 40 years. And this person said to me, she said, yo, I think it's great that I hit 10 years, but also, am I still going to be here 30 years from now? And what does that mean if you are? You can give 40 years? 40 years to a place that doesn't love you back? Or do they? I like to think that somebody put in 40, Jesus Christ, you're getting something out of love back. But that is one of the highest and most greatest regrets of the dying, right? Putting in a lot of work in a system that didn't what? Love them in return. They didn't do what they wanted with their life. A lot of this too was inspired. I'm reading the Sovereign Individual, and it high level talked about how fast things evolve and how things are changing, and that as things change, it means everything else that you believe was dead. But we don't align with that reality, because if it's dead, then what does that mean for who we are and what we're being? That's culture. It's the same with your future. You're killing your future. You don't love yourself now, you won't love yourself in the future. You won't love the future you're building for yourself. But you don't want to see that. Why? Because we talked about it. If you did and you realize that, what does that mean for you right now? You're serving systems over serving yourself. If you serve yourself, you will serve systems a lot better. Why? You'll serve yourself love. You'll spread your light out in love. Love will be returned to love. It's tough to admit it. It's tough to come to reality with that if I just persist as is, another decade's going to pass and you're going to be on that email list 20 years. And then, there's just sometimes, are you going to make the C-suite? You're going to be an executive? That might be cool for you. That might be a dream of yours. Awesome. A lot of us don't even get close. A lot of us don't even sniff the table. We fall out of love with ourselves because we fall out of love with what we're doing. What we're involved in mostly doesn't love us in return. So it's got to be what? It's not me. It's the same concept applies there too. Here's the worst of all. If that wasn't worse enough, you'll become a high functioning ghost. Let's check the chat real quick. Where you at, chat? Where you at, chat? Where you at, chat? You're on your way, huh? Here's how to lock daily remembrance. Exit the cemetery. Audit every goal you're chasing. Ask who wrote it. Eliminate one behavior today that mimics approval. Begin your morning with, I am not dead. I remember. Spend 10 minutes in pure silence. No noise, no content, just you and source. And if you do that, come back and let us know how it's working for you. Let's get into our daily phone tap, creation, covenant loop, audit, remix, re-record. This one's going to be extensive. We're going to do some groupings today. I like where we're going to go with this. It was pretty cool when I scripted this out. You'll see. Let's just start with the audit. Ask yourself when you're auditing, where am I still acting like the system will reward me? I couldn't even say it because I don't mean to laugh. It's not funny. But we keep waiting for the reward. It's never going to come. Where am I still acting like the system will reward me? Who am I still performing for that no longer governs my destiny? And guess what? If you've allowed somebody else to govern your destiny, I've been there. It, escaping those clutches, I left a massively large, profitable organization, and it was because I kept being told I wasn't going to get certain things if I didn't do certain things, and the certain things that they were asking me to do. It's not egregious. It was just a path. Get this degree, get this and get that, and get this and get that. I was like, nah, I ain't doing all that. Spent 4 years, 6 years. I don't demean it. I don't knock it. I think it's beautiful. I could be I could be in a different role in a different organization. This is what I did. I learned. I got some validation across some certifications, sure, that I think were more applicable. I don't want to be that naive towards education. I think education is great. In fact, like I said, autodidactism. I teach myself every day. I read every day. I apply knowledge every day. I journal every day. I process information every day. I watch informational things every single day. Every day. No, no doubt about it. But I do it my way. You're not going to tell me how to teach myself. So if you govern my destiny, if you're pulling the strings and if I get promoted or not, and I don't flow with you, I'm gone. And when I put in my 2 weeks, one of my previous mentors that was there, God bless his soul, because he's still there. He's still doing well. He looked at me and he's like, yo, nobody does that. Nobody leaves who you're leaving, because I was so close to the person who was at the top and he was like a rock star there. And no one ever leaves this company, including myself, which meant including him. He had a fear he would never leave there because of what it looked like. Even if it meant his death, even if it meant walking in every day gloomy and dark. How many of us are doing that? Performing, releasing governance of our identity to somebody or something else. Then you want to hit them with the remix. These are our thoughts, those sneaky thoughts that persist and insist and mean nothing or everything. I think burnout means progress, but that's a lie. They sold me death and called it devotion. I replaced that thought with this: stamina. Oh, I believe in stamina. Such a powerful word. Comes from spiritual order, not emotional reaction. I can't emphasize enough, man, the collateral that you build through remembrance. Like, I think about the evolution of my life. You know this little thought that your mind is set right there. I apologize for that. That was my old Raw 4 entry. My mixer has a mind of its own, clearly. What was I speaking on, or what was I speaking on? Stamina. And the stamina, not just to produce, like, in all seriousness, I get up early, I pray, I meditate. 3 o'clock is 3 o'clock, whatever. I hydrate, I read, I script, I work out, I record, I work my job. I take my responsibility as husband and father seriously. There are nights when I cook. There are nights when I have to go to practice and with my son, or my daughter has something that she's scheduling. I live it just like you. I live it just my day. There's almost my hour lunch break would be the biggest time I eat, I decompress, I wind up praying and meditating again. I lay down on that Shakti mat, which is effectively, what do you call that? They have the pins. What the hell is that called again? Acupuncture. Acupuncture. That's and I'm usually alone at that time, right? My wife's at work, my kids. I get very little time to myself where I'm not inundated with information or requests. I manage people, right? And so all day, because I decide this is how I roll, this is how I script and how I author my life. my mind is just active and active and active and active, and it's emotional, so my emotions are always active and my consciousness is always at the forefront, and I'm always talking to God, and I always got something playing and scrambling in my head, and I usually always have some sort of responsibility in front of me that I take very seriously. Everything I do, I take the garbage, I take it seriously. Ironing my wife's clothes, I take it very seriously. Getting my kid their bags packed, I take it very seriously. Clocking in, my meetings, my one-on-ones, soccer practice, my work, I take it all very packing up, clearing the dinner table, all that, unpacking the dishwasher. I go on and on and on, just like you. I take it very, very seriously, and I try to have my things neat and organized and representative of who I believe I am. Some things get dirty, some things it's hard to keep everything clean and everything aligned. You miss things because there's so many things to do. There's so many things you can easily forget. My point though, I talk about stamina. The stamina to repeat this over. Like getting up at 3 o'clock, the stamina that comes with that, it comes because you build it. But now being there for your wife, being there for your job, being there for your kids over and over and over and over and over, they release submissively to you in your role, and that builds massive amount of trust. So when I say, yo, I got it, it's not, oh, okay, he got it. You don't have to worry about it. I'm on it. Creates less friction. The only reason I'm able to do that is because I build up the stamina to do it. Prayer and meditation builds up emotional stamina. Journaling builds up emotional stamina. The Shakti mat, the acupuncture, right? The hot showers or cold baths, whatever, builds up spiritual stamina. Constantly doing deep work, at least 90 minutes a day. I was listening to Huberman. I like Huberman, man. I know a lot of people do. He talks about the power of deep work. I got a book back there about deep work. Executing that and feeling fulfilled and accomplishing things, it builds up a stamina. So when there's days where we're eating leftovers. I might get an hour or two back. Point being, I think a lot of us crash out because we lose the stamina, the emotional stamina, the physical stamina. Each are tied in. You get tired, you get emotionally tired, you crash out. I have moments. My kids, I had to have a conversation with them yesterday too about getting physical with each other. I crash out immediately. I also do it for effect. It's intentional. Since I do it so infrequently, I need to get their attention. Yo, don't do that. You're gonna make me crash out. But I have to have a conversation. I said, yo, I don't have the stamina. That was the word I used. I don't have the stamina, the tolerance for physical altercations between the two of you. I do not. So therefore, when I see it, I'm gonna crash out, and I'm gonna do something that we all regret. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna. To my daughters, you're gonna hit me. I know I'm not gonna put my hands on you. I'm well past that. I've evolved well past that. But I'm gonna figure out something, and you're not gonna like it, and I'm not gonna like it because I'm not gonna like putting you in a situation that you don't like. All right. I rambled more than I wanted to. Let's get into our re-record portion. We're going to look at identities by role. Let's start with if maybe you're an entrepreneur and this makes it for you. Block a 2-hour sacred window each night or each morning. No input, no output, just authorship. And then write one idea from silence. I think a 2-hour sacred window is beautiful. But if you're an entrepreneur, like I'm sure there's a massive amount of work, a massive amount of time, intentional block, intentional block. I think evenings are phenomenal because you can wind yourself down and decompress in that way. But don't distract yourself. No input, no output, just authorship. Definitely don't do anything about the business, right? Creators, delete one post that mimics trends. Film something that scares you in its truth. I can relate to this part. I fight it every day, and it's like it keeps serving me realities of, yo, 80% of what you do should be just like what everybody else is doing. Otherwise, nobody's going to ever find out about you. Because that's the way the algorithm works. So you're like, man, should I do a topic that is just like this topic? And should I speak about it the way this person's speaking about it? It's hard to not mimic the trend because you want to get in front of it too. But I find if I'm just mimicking a trend, sometimes it aligns. Most of the times it doesn't. A lot of times, if you give yourself the reality and the truth, you're appreciating the success the trend brings. The trend, I told you about this. Once it hits and it pops, it's gone, dog. The next one's already being built. So I can relate that it's like, yo, I really should be doing it this way because maybe if I do it this way, I'll get the types of subscribers and monetization that'll make me feel better. And it's probably true. But then I gotta live with that. That part, that truth scares me. I could do it. I could do something that easily makes me go. I mean, let's not say easily. Let me not demean it. It's not easy. But I could certainly follow trends. Let's just keep it at that. But I work massively hard on understanding the space, appreciating what people are looking for, and still finding a way to do it my way. I've just always been that way. So I have to fight like, yo, but if you, nah. That's the truth that scares me. Also, then, you film something that scares you in its truth. It scares me to think that I could be that unique or different. I don't know that I'm that unique or different. I know that I look at videos that I put out and I compare and contrast, and I'm like, what makes them different? There's truth. There's truth everywhere. How about corporate leaders? For my corporate leaders, set a visible off switch time. Announce it, lead by authorship, not reaction. I learned this. One of my, oh man, I love this mentor. Everything, 9 to 5, you got immediate responses. He was present all the time. 5 o'clock, 5 o'clock in like 6 seconds, you can't get him. And he knows emails are going off. Yo, I'll get to you tomorrow. I'm with my family. I had to learn that. I had to apply that. It's liberating. But announce it and lead by authorship, not reaction. How about my fathers? Tonight, dinner, no devices. Trust me, it's hard. But just try it and sit afterwards. Let your family talk. Don't lead. Don't lead. Resist the urge to be the talker if you're the talker. Just listen. Just listen. See what happens. Take mental notes. For my husbands, ask your wife today, what made you feel seen today? And then say nothing. And let her answer shift your strategy. If you haven't asked this question in a while, there's some delta. I live it. I've lived through it. I understand it. Yes, I know you have your quipes and your qualms and your things you want to see too. I get it. But so does she. Let her lead that part. And then wait your turn. You'll get an opportunity to make sure you're feeling seen. In fact, the more you make her feel seen, all of a sudden you find yourself being seen, because what woman doesn't like to feel seen? Easiest way to get what you want as a man. Man to man, man to man. I know what every man wants. Some intimacy, some respect, some boundaries about, yo, I'm the man here. Simple things. Make her feel seen. Everything else gets real. It gets a lot easier. She'll play her role. I got the greatest compliment I've gotten from my wife in 25 years yesterday. I guess I'll share it. She said it's very peaceful and dope to see you step up your masculinity and watch you perform in your masculinity. That's all I need, dog. Let me be me. Let me live. Let me be the man I want to be. Don't bother me. But it's not like it's like if you ask me to go break the wall, back up and let me break the wall. Let me cook. Let me feed you. Let me serve you. I got it. But while I'm also, because it's one of the things that got me with her was I'm like sawing the wall, right? I'm cutting it, and I'm stretching, right? And she's like, yo, there's something in the vacuum. I said, okay. You're gonna take it out for me? Yes, chill. I'm on the wall first. Matter of fact, sit down, watch me cut the wall, and when I'm done with the wall, I'll grab the vacuum. And I did my thing, right? My beautiful people, you can keep pretending this is the grind you chose, or you can admit that your soul wants out. You are not dead. You are not late. You are not even lost. You're just competing with a culture that expired while you were still following it. Step out of the grave, reject the ritual, return to your source. The God in you is not trending, but he's still alive. And so are you. Own it or be owned by it. You either run the system or the system runs you. Change your mind, change your life. I am who I say I am. Do you and stay rich.